Hey, everyone. TC Kirkham here, the Kirkham Report, and this is Finding Your Music Mojo. I'm not sure where Dawn is. I have not heard from her. I don't know what's going on, and hopefully she will be in touch and be along shortly. But it should be an interesting show. We're going to discuss underrated artists. There's a lot of great musical acts out there who we feel are underrated, and hopefully you guys will chime in with some ideas about who you think are underrated as well. It should be quite an interesting discussion once we get things going. In the meantime, as we wait for Dawn, I'm going to let you know that I've got quite a few artists that I think are underrated, and I know she does too. And hopefully, we'll get through all of them and get your opinions in as well. And oh, and I'm getting an unstable connection message. I hope everybody can see okay. First up on my underrated artist list, I picked some that I know have had success out there, but not all of them have done as well as they should have. And I think hopefully they could do better, and we need to get more people to listen to them because a lot of the stuff was out, big hits, but the albums didn't sell or they weren't played as much. And hopefully, you'll check them out. The first act I have to talk about in for this underrated show is the band Firefall. Firefall was around from 1976 to 1982, and they had a string of pretty big top 40 hits over the years. They had You Are the Woman, which was a top 10 hit. They had two number 11 peaks songs, one of which I just did on Obscuria Vaults last week, Strange Way and Just Remember I Love You. They also had a few other things out there, but nobody really gets into their albums, and they sold fairly well at the time they were out, but they also didn't get the airplay that they should have, and the album tracks are often just as good, if not better, than what they had singles of. Because in all honesty, I thought some of the singles, some of the songs on the albums, I was questioning the singles and whether or not they should have been released. My friend Jeff over at Calico Silver was talking about bad choices for singles, and Firefall did that a couple of times, although they had several good songs come out too. But I really think they were completely underrated and deserved more attention than they actually got during their heyday in the 1970s. You can pick up most of their albums in the cheaper bins in most record stores. A lot of them's been reissued on CD. They have a couple of greatest hits collections, and I think they would be really terrific to be able to have a renaissance, although a couple of members have passed on since they were out there originally, and I'm not quite sure what they would be doing today. I know some acts tour as Firefall, and it does include new members here and there, but I'm not sure who's part of it either. And their music is very much, they were kind of like a country rock band that leaned with a little AOR tangent to their music, and I would have considered them a yacht rock band just because the way they sounded. Oh, good, we have sirens going on outside. Man, everything's going crazy with this show. But I hope you'll check those out and see what's going on, because they are really a terrific band and they deserve a little bit more attention. So when you get a chance, if you are on streaming, you can stream from their earlier albums and see what you think. I'd love to know what you hear about, what you think of them. Second up on my list is an artist which, they're probably an acquired taste. Not everybody has acquired an interest in them, in him actually, but he's been around for quite a while. And while he's had a few hits here and there, particularly with his earlier band, he never, except for one small period between 1975 and 1977, he never really got the explosive attention he should have. And he's always been one of my favorite artists. His name is Eric Carmen. Eric Carmen was originally the leader of the Raspberries. Raspberries were a popular uh, garage pop, leaning toward slightly psych rock. From the early 70s, they released, I believe, 3 or 4 albums. I have 2 of them. I don't have all of them. And I loved his stuff from the very beginning and thought it was absolutely terrific. After the Raspberries broke up, he went solo. And of course, his debut solo album in 1975 produced 2 huge hits, All by Myself and I'm Never Gonna Love Again. Unfortunately, he never really clicked after that. He had a few minor hits here and there for much of the next decade, and didn't really come back in a big way until the late 80s, when he had a big hit with Hungry Eyes from the soundtrack of the film Dirty Dancing. And then a follow-up was released that had never been released before from his Best Of album that resulted from the publicity from Dirty Dancing, called Make Me Lose Control. Both of those went to the top 10 in, I think it was 87 and 88. And that was almost 10 years between the 2 albums. Between the two periods of his career. I've always enjoyed him. The debut album, Eric Carmen, was great. In addition to the 2 hit singles, All by Myself and Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. It also featured the original recording of That's Rock and Roll, which a year or 2 later would become a big hit for Sean Cassidy. Carmen was better known as a songwriter for many years after his solo stuff started clicking. The follow-up album, Votes Against the Current, many people didn't really think much of. I thought they were wrong about it. I think it's his best album. And the title track was great. The single from that album, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was She Did It. Terrific stuff, and all the way around some of the best ballad work I've ever seen. And it also included another Sean Cassidy song, Hey Deanie, which Carmen originally recorded also. Sean was picking out all kinds of good Eric Carmen songs for his career. Lots of good stuff. Followed that up with Change of Heart in 1978, which also kind of stiffed. Change of Heart was a minor hit. Finally, there was another album in 1979 or 1980 called It Hurts Too Much. And then he stopped recording until he signed with Geffen Records in 1985, released another self-titled album, and had a minor top 40 hit with I Want to Hear It From Your Lips. I thought Eric was just terrific, and I really think he deserves more credit than he gets. I mean, you still hear Make Me Lose Control on a lot of the older stations, and some of the oldies stations that play soft rock of the 70s, you may hear All by Myself, and occasionally Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. But it's a very he was so few and far a little better than that, because I think he was far more capable and far more talented for what he was able to do, and the success he was able to have. I really think that was an oversight on the public's part. Coming in third on my list, and this is an act that I think is really highly underregarded by today's generation of rock fans. Over the years, they were popular from 1969 to 1975. And back then, they had quite a few supporters. Obviously, they had a string of top 20 albums and a string of big hits. But today, it's almost like most of the rock world and vinyl community in its entirety almost have forgotten about the contributions the Three Dog Night made to rock music in the 1970s. You rarely hear them brought up on anything here in the vinyl community, and I think they deserve to be. I have been a fan of theirs. I was very small when they had their first hits in 1969, and I have followed their career. I had a lot of the singles. I've gone back and gotten some of the albums over the years, and they were just a terrific band. with Chuck Negron, Corey Wells, and Danny Hutton alternating lead vocals, where the Three Dog Night came from. I just really think forgotten in today's music world. I never see anybody bring them up. I never see anybody really do anything with them or talk much about them. And I think they deserve better than they're getting. It's really kind of sad because when you consider that they had monster hits like Joy to the World, Mama Told Me Not to Come, Black and White, Pieces of April, Liar, even right through to the more I played Shambhala on Obscuria not long ago, and one of my favorite songs by them was their last big hit, Till the World Ends, from 1975. I really think that Three Dog Night does not get the attention or the credit that they deserve. They were a solid rock act, put on a solid show from what I can tell from their live album. The fans really enjoyed their stuff, and it's a shame to see them kind of slip into the forgotten realm of today's collectors. I see today's younger collectors, the ones that are in their teens, 20s, early 30s, collecting a lot of stuff from the 70s. A lot of it's heavy metal. The Ramones are punk and Cheap Trick and Kiss. Everybody forgets about Three Dog Night, and I think that stinks. I've always loved them. Coming in with another one that I have, Jan Arden. Jan is so much a major personality in her native Canada, and yet here in America, she's kind of stiffed all the way around. Excuse me. Jan was introduced to American audiences in 1994 or 1995 with her album Could I Be Your Girl, which featured her top 40 hit Insensitive. That's the only thing Jan's ever hit the American charts with, even though she's had a string of hits in Canada. You know, it's been she was inducted into the Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years ago. She has a hit sitcom on Canadian television right now that does air here in the States on Hulu. I've never understood why America embraced so many of Jan's contemporaries, people like Sarah McLachlan, Alanis Morissette, Tori Amos, and that ilk, and didn't completely open their arms to Jan. I had a good fortune of meeting her. I was working for Transworld when she toured. I've forgotten what band she opened for, but we met her, had dinner with her. She was a very nice, very funny lady at that time. She was much younger. This was 1995, I believe. And she was just terrific all the way around. I wish that she had done better here in the States, because she's released, I believe, 8 albums now in Canada, not including the greatest hits of the live albums. And none of them have caught on in America except Could I Be Your Girl. You have to go all the way back to the first album. Actually, the album was called Living Under June. I'm sorry. The America either, despite the fact that it had her award-winning or award-nominated song "I Would Die for You" on it from that album. Jan is a marvelous vocalist, and she's terrific. I mean, she should be up there in superstar ranks with Sarah McLachlan and Adele, but she's not here in the States. In Canada, people know who she is. She's considered a national treasure up there, and I really wish that she would do better than she has. Let me put that up from Platinum Rose Lady. Jan can hold her audience enthralled with both her singing and her charisma. Absolutely. She's a very funny lady and lots of fun out there. Thanks for stopping by, hon. I really think she's gotten the shaft from American audiences, and I hope that they will all open themselves up to her eventually. Another act that's current that I'm a big fan of, that has become, they had one big hit in America, and ever since then they've had a few minor hits depending on what stations you're listening to, but in Europe they're huge and they deserve to be, and that is the Dutch act known as Lucas Graham, led by Lucas Fordhammer. They are a terrific band that does some terrific, I don't know, it might be even modern yacht rock with the stuff that they do. They do some pretty heavy stuff. They do some pretty laid back stuff. And I have loved them since 7 years, came out in 2014 or 15, I forget which. I've been following them ever since, and I just find them to be absolutely incredible. If you've never gotten to know them beyond 7 years, you should probably check out either the first album, which has 7 years on it, and also Happy Home and a few other great songs, or check out their technically their third album, but it was the second here in America, called the Purple Album, which have Love Somebody, Not a Damn Thing Changed, and Lie on them. They are just an amazing act, and always would love to see them do better than they do here in the States. It's just terrific that they are so successful in Europe, and I wish that America would find them the way that I have. I never get tired of listening to their music. I never get tired of promoting them to other people, because I think they deserve a much larger audience than they have. Next up on this list, if you are a fan of electropop and have found a lot of the current stuff out there, one of the acts that you may have heard some of, but not a lot of, is a gentleman named Jordan Witzegruder. From 2008 to 2020, he went by the name The Ready Set. Since 2020, he's gone by Only Child. And in between, he was part of a band called Neko Cat. Jordan is an amazing songwriter and musician and producer. He does practically everything himself. And going all the way back to 2010's I'm Alive, I'm Dreaming, which was his major label debut on Decadence Records, or Decadence, or however they pronounced it, Pete Wentz's label. And right up through his current stuff, I just can't get enough of him. I love his interesting way of writing, because everything he does is different from the last project. You have the same kind of ideas, but he's visually amazing. He does most of his own videos. He is incredibly creative, and his lyrics are mind-blowingly good as well. Going back to, he's changed record labels almost every album. I'm Alive, I'm Dreaming was on Decadence. Young Forever also on Decadence, which was an EP. It wasn't a full album. The next full album, The Bad and the Better, was released, I believe, on Razor and Tie. And I Will Do Nothing Without Your Love, or I Will Be Nothing Without Your Love, was released on Restless Records. And he's done mostly digital releases since then, since he became Only Child. Some of the stuff he does is just mind-blowingly fun, and some of it is really serious. He has a great song off the third album called See You, which is where he's talking about a friend who passed away and being with them in the hospital. It's an amazing song. And yet you can have the crazy up-tempo pseudo zombie stuff of Love Like Whoa, which was his only top 40 hit in 2020. My mind is completely gone today. And 2010. And then he did have a minor hit with Give Me Your Hand in 2012, I believe it was, or 14, off of the second album. But in any case, he definitely is somebody, all of that stuff. And I think a couple of his self-released albums, which were originally released on MySpace, are still out there and still on streaming services, and you can still listen to him. But he is terrific. You can look him up under The Ready Set, look him up under Neko Cat, look him up under Only Child. He's just an amazing artist, and you can look his name up on Wikipedia under any of those. It'll pull over the listing for Jordan Witzegruder, which is his real name. So definitely go check him out. Finally, on my list, where I'm apparently not going to be joined by Dawn, I don't know what's happening, well, I'm sorry. I'm always going to promote my boys when I have a chance. And if there's any act that I feel has been terribly underrated over the past several years, it is my boys, Hanson. I am a huge fan of Hanson. I have been a huge fan since their major label debut, Middle of Nowhere, in 1997. And today I will continue to promote them to anybody who will listen. I've been fortunate enough to see them in concert 3 or 4 times. Never have they been disappointing. And have, of course, a lot of their stuff. I'm a card-carrying member of their fan club, have been for almost 20 years. And So I get a lot of extra music that nobody else gets because they release a lot of stuff to the fan club. People could not get past Mbop, and that was the problem. Mbop was a monster hit. Mbop is one of those songs that has this really great up-tempo beat, and then you listen to the lyrics and realize just how downbeat the lyrics are. Taylor has always written great stuff that way. Hi, Henry. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you coming by. Stopped in for a few minutes. A few years ago, I discovered Gen X, a rock group out of Germany. They sing mostly in English. I think they would do well over here. I'm not familiar with them. I'll have to check them out. That sounds like a lot of fun. I enjoy a lot of good European acts I've discovered through Eurovision. But I'll have to put them on my list of people to check out. When it comes to Hanson, I think people give them much less credit than they deserve. And they, over the course of the last 25 years, they've never stopped recording. They've never stopped touring. They continue to release great music year in and year out. And I think that there is, I don't know, radio just can't seem to get behind them, although they've had a minor radio hit here and there with Penny and Me in 2003 and again with Give a Little in 2014, 2012, but never really caught on, even though they continue to appear on television all the time. They've done Dancing with the Stars. They've done Deal or No Deal. They appear on like the morning shows and on the Saturday morning shows, or they're for the news shows to perform. And of course, last season they were the nesting dolls on The Masked Singer, and everybody was like, whoa, Hanson, where have they been? They've never gone away, people. They've always been there. You just have to dig in and find the music. Their most recent album is RGB, Red, Green, Blue. It's 5 songs from Taylor, 5 songs from Ike, 5 songs from Zach, and is a terrific set of music. I have the DVD, the CD already, and the vinyl's been pushed back to next spring. I did purchase that also. And I mean, they are no different than they've ever been, but they continue to churn out great new music every year, and they do a number of projects exclusively for the fan club every year as well. There is an EP released to the fan club every year. The most recent one that was really great that I think everybody would really love was a few years ago when they did an all covers version, which featured Taylor and Ike doing Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud. I think that's who did that originally. And I Want to Take You Higher, which is a Sly and Family Stone. They were doing all kinds of good stuff. And people don't really remember that there is more to them than Mbop. And it makes me crazy, but I hope people will be able to give them a chance and jump in and see what they are all about. Just checking real quick here through my various stuff here. And I'm not familiar with Gen X. I'm definitely going to have to take a look at them. There's a number of great artists I've discovered thanks to my love for Eurovision. I featured several of them on Artists You Should Know this year on the Kirkham Report on Saturdays. One of the acts, Michael Sispak, is from Poland. He represented Poland in the 2016 Eurovision contest with Color of Your Life ever since. I've been going through and finding his other albums. I haven't picked up a couple of them because they're partially in Polish and I don't speak the language. But when he does record in English, I've always got it, and he is just terrific. Netta is another one, Netta Barzilay, who, of course, won Eurovision 2018 with her hit Toy, which was a monster hit on the U.S. dance charts, but radio didn't do anything with it, unfortunately. They should have. And right now, Dottie Fryer, who was the favorite to win the 2020 contest before it was canceled because of coronavirus, and came back to finish 4th in 21 with a different song. He is working on a new album and has a new album ready for release early next year. Just finished his incredible, nearly sold out tour of the U.S. without having any sales over here as far as radio play goes. He hasn't got any, even though Think About Things went viral in 2020. These are just a few of the acts that I have always enjoyed and loved, and never had any. I really can't believe more people haven't jumped behind them. They're just a terrific artists, and Eurovision as a whole is not taken seriously in America, and that's a shame too, because they tried to get our own version off the ground earlier this year actually, with the American Song Contest, and unfortunately it did not get very far. I don't know whether it's going to continue. I'm still trying to find out. They did solicit songs, but I don't know if they're actually going to do anything with it. So this is a list of the underrated artists that I came up with for the show. I didn't expect to have to vamp through the whole thing by myself, but I can manage that. And I hope that everybody who checks this out will check these artists out. Again, Firefall from the 1970s, Eric Carmen, who I think deserves way better than he gets. Three Dog Night, it's time to put them back on the mantle again, because they just don't get enough love from the current generation of vinyl enthusiasts, and they really should, because they're just terrific. Jan Arden, I urge everybody to check out. I think she is terrific and really, really got the shaft from American radio. Other than Insensitive, she has so much more to offer, and there's so much great stuff out there from her. Lucas Graham, the same way. 7 years is practically the only thing that ever gets airplay here. They did a great song for their second album and third album in Europe called Love Someone, and a couple of other singles from that. They've released several singles just straight to digital over the last couple of years. There's several concerts available online. Lucas Graham is definitely somebody you should check out. And the Ready Set / Only Child / Neko Cat, Jordan Witzegruder and his electro pop. He writes some very deep lyrics and puts it all inside of great dance clubs, EDM type things. And I would urge everybody to check them out. I have not heard from Dawn. I assume something has happened and she can't make it. I'm sure she'll let me know as soon as she can. In the meantime, though, I am going to say it's probably a good idea to sign off, and we'll try this again. In any case, I hope that you'll check out all of the shows on the TKR Video Central. Influencers on Tuesdays at 4. Rank This Thursdays at 4. The Kirkham Report Saturdays at 4. And the Radio Retro Countdown Sundays at 4. Daily Obscuria or Obscuria Vaults Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. And those are all on TKR Video Central. Over on Two Hip Chicks, you can check out Chick Chat every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. And you can also catch Dawn and Mary on several auctions during the week, including the Death Pile Clearance over on Melanie Lightbeam's channel, and that's on Monday. I know they were there this afternoon because I was watching it. And also on Johnny's channel on Cajun Roots Reseller every Wednesday, and that's where I have been picking up a lot of the 45s I bought over the last year. They are absolutely terrific and lots of fun to watch, and great resellers, and Dawn's a great collector too. In any case, I'm sorry this is a little bit didn't work out what's going on, and we'll let everybody know what happened as soon as we can. But I thank everybody for coming by, and I hope if you missed any of it, you'll check out the replay and check out some of these underrated artists I have brought up, and I hope that you will listen to them and let me know what you think about them. Drop us a comment if you have any ideas for future shows. And by all means, of course, don't forget to subscribe here at TKR Video Central and also over at Two Hip Chicks. Until then, until next time, Find Your Music Mojo. Next episode will be over on the Two Hip Chicks channel, probably 2 weeks from today, which would be, let me check the date, November 21st is the next one. And we hope to see you all there, and hopefully we won't have any more anything like today. Until then, for Finding Your Music Mojo, I am TC Kirkham. Thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate it. Bye now.